we're all here tonight to see Brittney Corrigan, so I'd like to introduce Brittney. I think I forgot to put, oh no, here it is. Brittney is the author of the poetry collections Daughters, Breaking Navigation, and 40 Weeks. Solastalgia, did I say that right?
You did.
From Jack Leg Press, 2023, hot off the press, right? When did that come out?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, so very fresh. I just got my copy a couple days ago, so I'm pretty excited. Brittney was raised in Colorado and has lived in Portland, Oregon for the past 3 decades, where she is an alumna and employee of Reed College. Very cool university, by the way. She is currently at work on her first short story collection, so hopefully we'll hear a little bit more about that in the Q&A. And for more information, you can visit her at brittneycorrigan.com. And Brittney, why don't you come on up, and everyone, let's welcome her.
Hi, y'all. Thanks for having me. And thanks to Jen and LiTFUSE and all the volunteers and staff tonight. I really appreciate being here and all of you. I love this little town. I've been coming to LiTFUSE for a few years, so it's really nice to be back here in the summertime. It's beautiful. So I'm going to read to you tonight from 3 of my collections and then a couple of new poems too, and leave plenty of time, of course, for you to ask me questions. So I'm going to start us off with my collection Daughters, which came out from Airlie Press a couple of years ago, and this book is a collection of persona poems that are all in the voices of daughters of various characters from mythology and folklore and popular culture. So I'm going to give you 4 of these gals tonight. And I always like to start with my Pacific Northwest daughter. So this is Bigfoot's daughter. You want to believe in the bulk and brown of him reeling through the thicket, that flash you thought you saw, the eyes that spun. You want terror to walk beside you. You want the wild rush of escape. You want the story. You want to be alone with your fear. All of it true. Your heart loud like a woodpecker striking the trees that seem no longer peaceful, but sentient and poised to uproot. That cry in the woods that swallows all other sound. But listen. What I want you to hear is birdsong. The lifting that comes from such beauty, the way the trills and warbles sift through the stalling rain, a light on the ghosts of our breath, congregate and hover as the forest hums. My father, he is fine-furred and tawny, eyes green as fiddlehead ferns. Tangled and swift with his stories, his laughter sweeps through the undergrowth, bends you aside. I place my small footprints in his footprints, leave you stunned. If you watch the edges of his heart gentle forth through his body, soft and blurred and glowing, will you change your mind about the monster? Witness the glisten and tremble, the moon gazing down on the paws of the lake. Like that, the dark not so complete. My father, I ride on his shoulders, bring the sky down with my singing, fill your chest with a joy you can't explain. We can make you believe what you saw in the woods is something fierce and secret, the story of your own longing, but not yours to claim. Oh, thanks. All right. So this one was written, I did a residency in Mineral, Washington, another wonderful small town. I wrote a lot of these poems, and this one was inspired by the fact that that's one of the sites of one of the most famous UFO sightings. So this is Alien Abductee's Daughter. My mother isn't a sci-fi movie 1960s housewife drying her hands on her apron as she half sleepwalks into the yard where there's a bright beam waiting to levitate her through the whipping wind kind of gal. She makes grilled cheese sandwiches sensibly, with butter on both sides and pickles and tomato soup. She reads novels of literary merit, maybe a little magical realism thrown in, but not enough to make her moony. She believes in ghosts, it's true, the same way she believes in mathematics. The beauty of theories and formulations, the attempt to enumerate all things, black holes, gravity, planetary orbits and tides, weather, dark matter, energy. What I'm saying is, I believe her. If she lost time, it likely was because of the UFO. I mean, she's not an invents bedtime stories kind of mom. There's nothing impossible about it. It all comes down to simple math. Listen, my father's not really my father. That's what I'm trying to tell you. When he's gone, we know exactly where he goes. You can smell it on his clothes, sour and sloppy. My mother was returned only slightly disheveled and carrying me. See? My skin has a shimmery gray undertone. Just look at my whopping green eyes. We don't need my father anymore. They're coming back for us. I can feel it. That's why my mother stands in the yard every night, crying, holding my hand. We're certain. We know the lights will come. All right, so I love to find out when people read this book who their favorite daughter is. It's never my favorite daughter, but this is, so far she's winning. So I call her my crowd-pleasing daughter. So this is Siren's daughter. Our songs are not for you. My mother didn't teach me to lilt a lyric from my throat, to crest a note from my tongue in order to enthrall or summon a man. Such conceit, to think a goddess would sing of men's deeds. We sing for the same reason cranes sing, or the deepening wails, or a whole fierce chorus of wolves. I wish all of you would bind your rough and yearning bodies to the masts of your figure-headed ships, sails abeat in the salty wind breaking the waves. Because truth be told, I've had enough of your maddening inability to keep your hearts and hands to yourselves. Your excuses puddle round your boots, but still you come. My mother says men cannot leave a thing of beauty to unfurl of its own accord. You must always lean in and pluck it, roots and all, no matter the withering. So we have to make our homes among the sharpest rocks. We have to pick the roughest whorl of seas. And if we draw your ships to smithereens, well, that will not keep us from singing. All right, one last daughter for you all. We're going to space. This is Astronaut's Daughter. So there's some space poems sprinkled throughout all of these. So we're starting here with Astronaut's Daughter. First, you must understand how small we really are, how the intricate world beneath our skins is but a blip, like that waking moment when dreams disintegrate to debris. Even the scale of our destruction is minute. Our genocides, our wars, our extinctions and erosions, our ability to change the very atmosphere we're in, melt glaciers, conjure hurricanes and heat. It's all just a speck from out there in the cold and black, out among the whirling gaseous spheres caught in their orbital spins, out among the burning bodies of stars bombarding us with ancient light. My mother knows there is a universe inside her, thousands of possibilities for the formation of life, improbability of collision, rapidity of expansion, tethered, floating in a weightless world. And yet, she has left me, her little planet, I who cannot escape my elliptical love for her, to travel so far above the earth that I am but atoms among atoms, bumping up against dark matter in my fitful sleep. But my heart is telescopic. I look up, and the stars could be street lamps. The moon, a sliver of melon she's sliced from my plate. I believe that my longing's gravitational. I imagine she can feel it from space. So this little ditty, this little chapbook's called Breaking, and it is all poems that are in response to happenings in the news over the past several years. So I'm just going to do 3 of these little guys for you. And they each have little explanations of what they're about. So this first one, so you may remember some of these news stories. This one is after the female pilot who safely landed Southwest Airlines Flight 1380 with only 1 casualty on April 17th, 2018. So this is Unflap. It's for Tammy Joel Schultz, who's the pilot, and the rest of us. Unflap. When all the wide world is unhinged, not just the weather with its conniption of extremes, but also the cracking open of our species, the dark fringes scrabbling their way to light. That's when we most need the pilot, the level-headed timbre of her voice through the crisp altitude of air. It's not just 149 souls on that plane as it tilts and plummets. It's all of us reaching up for the oxygen masks, all of us trying to pull one another back in. We need how she navigates us through the turbulence of fear, how she calmly corrects to our destination, how she asks for everything we'll need. We are single engine and gaping, but we're not blazing yet. The pilot, she soothes, and we are bracing. We trust her while we descend. This voice, not angelic or steel, no, she's just human. But she's carrying all of us. The blue smudged to a blur, despair now clanking wildly at our ears. We are peeled open and falling, but she is what we need. A clear, sane winging back to earth. No, not all of us, but most of us. The gravity of our hearts plunging for what we've lost, gripping onto each other, remembering what's worth saving as the mess of us lands.
What was the line, the turbulence of tears?
Fear. Yeah. Yeah, it's poeting up here. Okay, so this one is after the border wall construction at the site of the National Butterfly Center in Mission, Texas in February 2019. So that center is home to 240 species of butterflies and is situated across the threshold of the US-Mexico border in the Rio Grande Valley, along with several other sacred sites and endangered wildlife habitats. So this is sanctuary. May we not be detained before we exchange our many wearied feet for the paper of wings. Instead of a wall, let there be a chrysalis, emergent shell our bodies make so we may safely enclose. A barrier by any name scars the liminal milk-weeded ground where our dead dissolve and the river eats our thirst. Do not come with your slice of machines, your monster of unscalable steel morphing in our hammock of trees. Let our liquid imaginal cells become the possibilities of color unfolding as we reassemble what makes us whole. Let not the land be divided, nor the silken clutch of our bodies, nor our hearts that hang and twist in the fight. All right, so you get outer space here again. This one is Astro Sisters. And this is after the first all-female spacewalk outside of the International Space Station on October 18th, 2019. And Astro Sisters is what those 2 astronauts called each other. So, Astro Sisters. On the earth that passes beneath, leaves brighten nova-like in the cooling air, and young girls ready their costumes for Halloween. Growing bones step into flight suits with embroidered names. Transparent globes frame buoyant faces freckled with stars. Miles above, 2 women navigate the space station in weightless calm, their voices tethered to the woman in mission control who talks them through each task, each measured step to power the solar arrays. Like the pace of this spacewalk, we have come to this moment slowly, when the women do their work in the universe and their male crewmates look out through the glass. As the Astro Sisters climb their way back into the airlock, Girl Scout troops are rapt with attention. Teenage girls in physics class follow the live stream on the miracles of tiny screens in their palms. And the little daughters, not yet in school, watch as the hatch door opens. And where once there was darkness, now there is infinite space. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to give you Solastalgia. So, yay! So the word solastalgia is a pretty new word. So most people I know have not encountered this word before. So it was coined, I think, around 2005 by a philosopher, and at the time it was used to mean like a homesickness for a home that you're currently in. And it's come to mean more of sort of an existential distress around climate change, specifically, and environmental change. So that's solastalgia. And his cover art, this beautiful cover art, is Bryn Levinson, who's a local Portland artist, and his work is all these sort of world without human landscapes with the animals and nature taking back over. So it was perfect, and perfect for the poem I'm going to start us off with. So the book is arranged by the Earth's spheres, biosphere, lithosphere, atmosphere, and cryohydrosphere. I'm going to try to give you some from each of the spheres. And then there's sort of some thematic poems running throughout. And so this is one of the, what I call the world without us poems. So this is the strip mall changes its mind. At first, it took comfort in the sense from body beyond. Floral powders and cinnamon lotions mingled in the stuffy dim. It watched over so many unfooted shoes. Bright dresses called out in bold prints to suits in the dry cleaner's rack, still rows of ghosts. Then the grief set in. The conveyor belt of Sushi Town twisted like an empty gut, its capillaries of people gone, quiet at the heart. Undone, it hardly noticed windows shattering, walls crumbling as trees limbed their way in. Sunlight on every rain-warped floor. Missing the humans with their electric bodies, wires and pipes spilled out between unmoved beams. Tireless beaks bored holes in everything. But the moss was so soft. It made the unframing bearable. Signs unlatched, bedded down in tendrilled leaves. When the fox moved in, birthed 2 russet kits in a thicketed shopping cart. Wind, like a breath, a sigh, rose past the splintered rafters, the unlit lights. And so it happened, the forgetting. Painless, its tender reclaiming. Dangling ceiling tiles, sloppy with stars. All right, so now I'm going to give you 2, I call my unloved animal poems. They're beloved by me, and hopefully poems help them be beloved by others. So this first one is Canis. You think you want the puffball pooch for your lap, or the gentle giant that lets toddlers pull its ears, or the hound trained to bring back limp birds in its mouth, refusing instinct, whistle-whipped, gorged on praise. But the slender beast that roams your streets at dawn and dusk has walked this ground a million years. When wolves and jackals land-bridged their way out, coyote stayed, survived the poisons, bullets fired from planes. Misunderstood, coyote knows your nature, slides between cars, its muzzle full of mice. Come now, doesn't your heart wish to trot down darkened sidewalks, outwit what has clobbered it, yip and howl at every streetlight moon. Here, come stand at the window. Watch the yellow eyes, ears that swivel toward the city's hum. This is the dog you've always wanted. The one that turns city to wildscape, stops you in your tracks, unguards your door. One more of these unloved guys. This is Opossum Nocturne. Perhaps it is poor night vision that keeps us from seeing how you preen our streets, devouring what the sunlit crows have left behind. We misunderstand your mouth, crowded with keen-edged teeth that dissect and undo the flesh we are too squeamish, too unbrave to carry with our human hands. We should envy your thanatotic form, how death visits you, but then retreats. Why do we not adore your prehensile tail, how you dangle and brace and grip like the acrobats we embellish with sequins and tulle? The darkness inside your pouch, the nyctophilic eyes ripening within, should allure us like the night sky we wish watched over our city noise, the one so thick with stars we're less blind for its light. All right, and then there's many poems throughout this book that are called the Anthropocene Blessings. And so these were, for me, these short poems to honor various endangered species, flora and fauna. I'm going to give you two of those tonight, in different, one coming a bit later, but this first one is Anthropocene Blessing, Black Rhino. You who are more likely than not to die of a blow from your own kind, one bicorned skull slamming into another, the piercing of such thickened skin. May the egrets and oxpeckers who feast with their feet on your backs, devouring parasites swollen with your solitary blood, lift as you charge tree trunks and termite mounds, turn crocodiles back into the mud. May your horns, rough stalagmites between your lily-folded ears, not be prized or poached by we who are too much like you, so apt to shake our heads and charge without reckoning what it is we will gore. This next one requires a drink and a breath. Okay, so there's a lot of darkness in here, and there's hope too, and I can promise to end on hope this evening. But I think we need to sit with the darkness sometimes and think about all the work that we still need to do. So that's kind of what this one's about. This is Carpe Diem. Forget the day. How hours flatten the way rising water turns islands back to sea. How minutes tire of treading and flail their tentacled fingers above the surface, grasping at gull legs, the mired rim of a trash vortex, anything to hold on to before seconds turn blue from the effort and the whole mess siphons down. Yes, forget the day. In terms of this planet, a planet that has been here 4.5 billion years, our existence but a fraction of a percent, a blip even to the dinosaurs that tromped and scrabbled themselves across the Earth's crust 159 million years longer than we've been digging our toes in the sand, swinging from branches, praising the soil, or stewarding the land, or unrocking the mountains, or replacing redwoods with skyscrapers, or talking about the weather, or generally fucking everything up. Yes, this isn't about the day anymore. It's about reach out and grab that ice shelf. Don't let that big white bear and her two black-eyed cubs float away. Carpe Ursus maritimus, Carpe Pongo abeli, orangutans grooming their 97% identical to human genome selves in the rainforest. Please, Carpe the rainforests. Carpe Panthera pardus orientalis, Carpe Panthera tigris sundaica, big cats in their patterned fur coats, in their slink vanishing away from us. Carpe Balanoptera musculus, whale shark, circling our dreams, vesseling its way through our paintings and poems. Carpe thaumatibus gigantean, giant ibis, the world's most endangered and evolutionarily distinct bird. Carpe Atalaska anops, Kauai cave wolf spider that doesn't spin webs, that chases down its prey the way we are chasing our own tails now, digging ourselves a meteor-sized crater of a grave, exponentially expanding daily what we'll take down with us, dragging the aurora borealis, its tundra and permafrost after us. Yes, forget the day. Carpe, the last of the dark sky places, the quietest places on earth, the deserts with their nocturnal rhythms, flora and fauna that know what it is to survive. Yes, forget the day. Carpe noctis, carpe noctis. Let there be stars when we seize the last of the light. A few more from here for you.
Carpe water.
Yeah, that too. Okay, so this next one has a little epigraph at the beginning from the New York Times, which is that nearly 1/3 of the wild birds in the United States and Canada have vanished since 1970. A staggering loss that suggests the very fabric of North America's ecosystem is unraveling. That was from an article from September 19th, 2019. So this is vanishing. As the world's cities teem with children, flooding our concrete terrains with shouts and signs, as the younglings balance scribbled earths above their heads, stand in unseasonal rain or blistering sun, the birds quietly lessen themselves among the grasslands. No longer a chorus, but a lonely indicating trill. Eastern meadowlark, wood thrush, indigo bunting, their voices ghosts in the chemical landscape of crops. Red-winged blackbirds veer beyond the veil, orioles and swallows, the horned lark and the jay. Color drains from our common home so gradually, we convince ourselves it has always been gray. Little hollow-boned dinosaurs, you who survived the last extinction, whose variety has obsessed scientific minds, whose bodies in the air compel our own bodies to spread and yearn, how we have failed you. The grackles are right to scold us as they feast on our garbage and genetically modified corn. Our children flock into the streets with voices raised, their anger a grim substitute for song. So, on the heels of that one, this is my favorite Anthropocene blessing from the book. This is California condor. It's in the category of Anthropocene blessings and unloved animals, but I love vultures, so here we go. King of birds, you of the 9-foot wingspan, you who glide for hours on currents of air without a single beat, thousands of feet above the leaden earth, scavenger ancestor, only surviving member of your genus, longest lived. May you feast on the flesh of the dead as you toss their spirits up to the sky. May the carrion ghosts look down upon your unplumaged form and be your head, your black-feathered sacred form, and be healed of all that stalked them in this world. May you not be poisoned by our buckshot, seething in each carcass we leave behind. May you outgrow our captivity to hatch your single eggs in mountain cliff caves, giant redwood trees. New world vulture, may your bulbous, wrinkled visage remember how you soared over mammoths. May you be revered as virtuous, as rising back from the brink, as gathering your flock around the fallen. May you take death in your mouth and find it sweet. Find that it sustains. All right, I'm going to give you one more from here, and then I come back for the hope at the very end with one last one from here. But so I have an obsession with the Global Seed Vault in Svalbard, which is one of the places in the world where we're storing seeds from all over the world, from crops all over the world, to preserve that biodiversity and also in case of future disaster. So this is vaulted seeds after the Svalbard Global Seed Vault. Hoarded at the heart of an Arctic mountain, within an archipelago of snow, an ark of seeds. Cocooned against soil, nuclear bodies hunker and wait for some future hungerscape. A gathering of crops, varied faces folded into foil, shuttered from the earth. Lentil, dark and round and pebble smooth. Barley's slender husk of an eye. Each wrinkled chickpea, the embryonic head of a bird. Sister seeds in Aleppo, shelter abandoned in the rubble of war. The snow is a silence, except for how the seeds call out to one another across landmasses that shift and warm. Svalbard reindeer swivel their ears to listen. Foxes pause ghost-like on the permafrost. With one quadrate eye, the vault reflects a frigid blue sea. Ringed seals bob and dive among the glassy flows. The vault's stone hull juts like a shipwreck into the drifted ice, while polar bears chuff and lumber past the door. Inside, thousands upon thousands of promises to feed what may remain. Doomsday, its other name, because we've already planted what's to come. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple of new poems and then one last one from Solastalgia, and then you can ask me anything you want. So I wrote a series of poems a couple years back, all about, I got obsessed for a while with wildlife crossings over the road and under the road, all kinds of wildlife overpasses and underpasses. And so this is one of those, and about wildlife and roads in general. This is extirpation, which extirpation means a local extinction. So the species is not extinct worldwide, but it's extinct in this one specific area where it used to be. So little blurb at the front of this one. It isn't just the number that are killed by cars, but the inability to cross large, busy roads that are putting the mountain lion at risk. Populations are hemmed in by highways leading to inbreeding, which could cause the species to disappear within 15 years. So this is extirpation. The road is not a surgeon, not a scalpel excising flesh from flesh. The mountain lion is not a hatchback, not a semi-barreling toward the escape. The road is not a wall, though it might as well be. The big cats tumble their cells, braid their double helixes like to like. The road is a guillotine. No, the road is an electric fence, an electric vein of lights and grills and steel. The shoulders of the mountain lion ripple with each silent step. Her eyes are not headlamps. Her cubs are not a gas gauge hovering over E. The road is a drain. The road is a knife. The road is a closed-eyed hum. The mountain lion is a yellow-eyed window. Her body is one part mammal, one part guardrail. The road is a scalpel. The lion licks the edge, laps the fog line as the road purrs into the night. This little one was written, I've been in residence out at Playa in Summer Lake, Oregon a few times, and the last time I was there was this little brown-headed cowbird that, like, the whole time I was there would show up every day at the window, like, knocking insistently to come in. And so then I started reading up on cowbirds and learned that they are one of those birds that goes nest to nest, laying their eggs in somebody else's nest and letting other birds take care of their young for them. So this is what the brown-headed cowbird doesn't know about my ovaries. Right. Little bird knocking at my window glass in the high desert heat. Tap, tapping until I come closer. squat eye to eye with your ochre feathers, your dark conical beak. In whose nests have you left your freckled eggs today? All around us, blackbirds sing the sagebrush awake, but you are called to a faltering warble between my hips. 2 empty nests in the wings of my pelvic bone have turned all my eggs loose. How to tell you, sweet parasite, that my body is no longer host, is done with the brood and hatch, the gather feed, the raise. Okay, one last little space poem, and then you get your little ending hope. So this is, I started also currently writing a series of poems about different NASA missions. Not sure how these started, but so this one's about Artemis, which is the current NASA mission to send the first woman to the moon. So this is Artemis. We can build a ladder to anything. Sing, goddess, of how our rungs tongue at the edge of Earth's night. Bright sphere we worship and leash, greasing our rockets for the trip. We slip into lunar suits, stare, knock airlocks open into the cratered dust, crust of oxygen, silicon, magnesium, calcium, iron, aluminum, minerals feral on the far side in the starry dark. Mark this hunt with a footprint, a flag. Drag the skin of the surface back. Rack of antlers for our home planet's mantle. Satellite skull of the moon strewn with debris we left behind. We find you wildless, unanimaled, called by tidal force. The first woman, human heart slowed in outer space, places her foot on volcanic ground. No sound, like a deer in the wood. All right, so I'm going to close with this little poem. Many of these poems were written over, they were all written during the pandemic, and every December, Two Sylvia's Press, I don't know if folks know Two Sylvia's Press, but every December they put out a poetry advent calendar where you get a prompt every day. And when I was writing these poems, I was like, I'm going to do these prompts, and I'm going to shove my material into these prompts no matter what the prompts are, which was a really fun exercise. So, and it's how I got the book finished. So this is one of those, and I think this was the Christmas Day prompt, and you were supposed to write about a miracle. So this is miraculous. When all the news is bad or worse, my ears ringing like a din of night insects, just swelter and drone. I quiet my bones with the thought of quaking aspen. Trembling giant, grove of thousands of trees, all with a single system of roots. 1,000,000 years old, bright fluttering of gold against blue. And when I think I can't take in another sorrow, each a stone stacked up like a cairn on my heart, I remember how the jaws of a snake unhinge. Its mouth opens and opens to enfold what's impossibly large, patient swallowing followed by a length of rest. And when what we've done can't be undone, hope just a speck on the future's woolly back, I jumpstart my wonder with this. The snow in Antarctica is sprinkled with the dust of ancient stars. While we hunted and gathered, the galaxy glittered and lay itself down in our light. All right. You get to ask me questions. Yes.
I just want to know how this whole thing came about. Where did you start? Was it, did you already have some poems in order and you saw how they kind of fit together? Or did you start out with the book in mind?
I started out with a book in mind. I tend to write thematically. Like there was the collection, this was Stories in the News, and this one's all daughters. So I tend to kind of latch on to a subject matter or a topic and then write toward it. And so I knew that I had been starting to write some poems that had to do with climate change and extinction and the Anthropocene, and so I knew I wanted to do a collection on these themes. And also in December, and along with these two Sylvia's prompts, I'm part of a blog. It's a private blog run by the poet Laura Passon. I don't know if anybody knows Laura Passon. She's a brilliant poet. But she started this blog several years ago, and every year more people join it. So, and the goal is to write a poem a day, although that we don't all do that, but they get posted to this private blog, so it's just us seeing them. But there's like 40 of us now. And then you post feedback. So you're reading the poems and posting just like a line or two of feedback, like I love that image, or what a great line. It's all positive feedback on these totally raw, brand new poems. And so and this, again, it was during the pandemic, and I found I was one of those people who like thrived. Like I loved being home. I loved having extra time. I was lucky enough that I kept my job, even though they were keeping us employed with virtually nothing to do. And so I had time, and I was using it to write. And so yeah, between the blog and the support of those poets, and then those prompts, and then I knew this is the subject matter I wanted. So I sort of was continuing to write towards that for a couple of years. And I keep a giant Google Doc of articles and podcasts and factoids that I find out that I think are strange and interesting, and I just throw them in there. So if I'm at a loss for what I want to do next, I just browse through the document until something jumps out. So there was no shortage of subject matter. So yeah, that's how it came to be.
I feel like we just have seen and heard someone you created a whole new way of thinking about poetry and about how to write. And I am so damn glad that I came here tonight. I mean, really, you were quite amazing.
Well, thanks.
And we also agree about.
Yeah, no, it's important. Yeah, so.
That helps.
No, I went to AWP in Seattle back in March, and I was lucky enough to do an offsite reading, an eco poetry reading, and I met some amazing poets who were working with the same subject matter, which is really there's a lot of people writing towards that, which I think is really important. It's important that we're talking about this and we're making art about it and we're having discussions about it, and getting this information out into the world and talking about it. So it was a real honor to meet those folks and to listen to their work, and everybody's doing it a little differently. And I really love, I don't know if anyone knows Claire Wamenholm. She's a Minnesota poet, but her latest book is called Meltwater, and it's about like motherhood and extinction and all these things, but she's using like glaciers as the window into all of that. It's brilliant. So people are doing some really interesting things with these topics right now. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I loved hearing your poems that explore different perspectives outside of yourself, and you seem to like to get into character.
Yeah.
That first collection, the Daughters collection especially, how do you find it in yourself to channel these different perspectives? How do you get in the zone for that? Yeah,
that's an interesting question. So before Daughters, my first collection of poems it's all like confessional, all about me, and that's how I was writing for a long time. But when I had been in college, I had done some work with mythology and folklore and some persona work, and I was like, I kind of want to go back to that. And so Daughters came about kind of accidentally. I had written a Scarecrow's Daughter just as a random poem that I was like, well, this is fun. I was just trying to explore persona work again, and then Bigfoot was second, and I was actually writing from the perspective of Bigfoot, and it wasn't working at all. And I was like, okay, what if he has a daughter? And it ended up being the exact same length, the exact same number of lines and stanzas, and I was like, okay, now it's a project. And so then it became fun to try to think about. And again, I had like a document of all these different kinds of daughters I wanted to write about. And I think my window into those and getting into those characters, most of them had to do with not just, there are the ones that sort of imagine what it would be like to be like the daughter of a surgeon. But then there are the ones that are about something else. And those were the ones that were most interesting to me. And it was also a way for me to talk about topics that weren't necessarily my own experience, but that I had something to say about without sort of co-opting that material, I guess. So Alien Abductee's Daughter, right, is about an alcoholic father, so, which I don't have. But it allowed me that space to imagine that situation from from this sort of fantastical or, surrealist kind of perspective. And so then they became just an exercise in what do I have something to say about, and what do I want to get across, and whose voice might that come across in. And so, yeah, that was really fun to re-enter persona in that way. So,
Absolutely, thank you.
yeah.
So the poem about, so the dog, I think it's like the dog you think you want.
Yeah, the coyote one. Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me a little bit about your process with that?
So I think that may have been one of the ones that came from a prompt. I'm trying to remember now. I can't even remember which ones came from prompt. But I think some of these were originally from like writing about the unloved, and that one and several others sort of came from that. Like what about this animal is, one, they were here first. So and two, like why don't we like them, and trying to get us back to being able to appreciate the creatures that we are here with, and especially the ones, like I was interested in coyote and possum specifically because they're often urban animals that we're absolutely coexisting within our cities, and they've somehow learned to live with us, and how can we give back, right, and learn to continue to live with them, and share this space that, we've changed their environment, and so how can we, but they've adapted to it, and how can we then learn to live with them. And so that was sort of the thinking behind that one and some of those other ones. Yeah.
The couple of poems that you read, just on the sheets of paper,
Yeah.
those were very different.
Yes, they're
from
newer,
your other works.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about those poems? Is
Mm-hmm.
that something that's going into a new project, or are they on their own?
They're on their own right now because I'm not sure what my next project is. Like, I'm thinking of doing a little chapbook of the space poems because I have several of them now. And I was gonna originally do a chapbook of the road and overpass poems. I did those for so Tupelo Press has a program called 30 for 30 or 30-30. You heard of that? Tupelo Press it's a fundraiser for the press. So they're a really awesome independent press, and you can apply to do a project where you write a poem for 30 days, a poem a day for 30 days, and it gets posted up on their website, and you're raising money. It's like a run, like a runathon or whatever that kids do, where folks are coming and reading the poems every day and hopefully donating money to the press. And so when I set out to do that project, I was like, I'm going to do overpasses, and I'm going to write 30, and then I'll have a chapbook. But I ended up getting to the end and only liking about 5 of them. So I don't know what I'm going to do with those yet. This was like the one I really liked the most out of them. So yeah, I'm still sort of writing on this same subject matter that involves the environment and the natural world, and but I'm not quite sure how they're going to fit together yet. So they're dabbling right now. Yeah. So yeah.
Brittney, would you share with us a little bit of your time with Airly Press?
Yeah.
And how being involved with them teaches you more than just how to write a poem, but that whole process.
Yep.
Elaborate on that, please.
Absolutely. So Airly Press, for those who don't know, Airly published Daughters. So Airly Press is a Pacific Northwest press. It's a collective press. Folks who are accepted into the collective, they stay for 3 years as volunteer editors, and so so people are constantly rotating in and out, right? So there's usually 6 editors, and every year 2 new people are coming on and 2 people are rotating off. And so in your first year, you're really learning the ropes of the publishing industry and supporting the work of the press. And in the second year is the year your book is coming out, and you're really focused on that. And then the third year, you're really mentoring the new folks who are coming in so that the work of the press can continue. So it's an all volunteer model, and there's no royalties or anything like that. So it's really for the love of the work. It publishes primarily Pacific Northwest poets, and then we do have one national prize if that person doesn't join the press as an editor, but that we do have a national prize that publishes 3 books a year. But that process was incredible because not only are you you're getting to have your book published by a really fantastic press and having to get a lot of control over your own your own, the way your book looks and the cover. I mean, it's an editorial decision, but you have a lot of control, more so than you might have with other presses. So that was a real advantage. But you're also learning all the behind the scenes work of a press and getting to learn. We outsource like the design and the layout and all of that, but you're learning how to do marketing and how to, you work on editing and all the different aspects of putting out a book. And so for folks joining, usually everybody's bringing some sort of skills with them, but also learning new skills. And so that was a huge opportunity to learn the ropes of the publishing industry, have a beautiful book produced, and then have the opportunity to really give back to additional authors coming onto the press and really looking for new voices and hopefully underrepresented voices to bring into the press to continue this work. So that was a fantastic opportunity. And they're in their open reading period right now, people, for the summer. This is when full-length collections where you can apply to become part of the press for 3 years. So right now I think it's till the end of August. So yeah, good stuff.
Follow-up. You
Follow-up.
mentioned marketing.
Yeah.
So you've got a brand new book out, 2
Yeah.
weeks. You've got this huge book tour scheduled.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So what I've learned I have 5 collections and none of the presses have really done much of anything. Like I feel like unless you're with a really major press, the poets do a lot of their own work and are often expected to do a lot of their own work. And so yeah, I quickly learned that my press wasn't going to do much. Like they were sending out a few copies for reviews, but that was about it. So I was like, I guess I'm on my own with this one. So yeah, I've just learned a lot over the years. I've had to learn how to, my sister was like, when Daughters came out, she's like, you need Instagram right now. I'm like, okay. and I learned how to, got better at doing social media marketing. She's like, you have to make reels. I'm like, okay. So now I'm like learning how to make reels and like, but it's been a great learning process, but I've kind of had to teach myself. And just by talking to other poets and learning from other folks. And Airly was a great way to learn how to do that too, because I came in with not a lot of marketing skills and just having to learn how to get the word out there. And then the longer I've been a poet and the longer I've lived in the Pacific Northwest and made connections, that's what's helped me with like the book tour, because now I have connections all over the place that I can reach out to and say, hey, would you like to review the book? Or hey, would you like to have me in your reading series? And those personal relationships now at, book 5 are definitely paying off. Like I don't think I had a book that many readings set up for any of my other books, but I've really worked hard to develop those personal relationships. And as an introvert by nature, I've had to learn to develop these skills of like being able to talk to people and promote myself, which can be uncomfortable, and really make those connections. So, and then ideally give back, right? And so my Jack Lake Press is the press that put out Solastalgia, and when I first came on, which was 2 years ago, it was accepted 2 years ago, until it came out, like the current authors like reached out to me like, hey, we're all helping each other promote, like, can we decide that we're all going to like share each other's posts and we're all going to like, get the word out about each other's books? And I was like, absolutely. And that's been my experience at this press, is that the editors haven't done a lot of work, but my fellow poets sure have. And I'm really thankful for those relationships and want to, I try to do my best to not only promote myself, but to promote other poets and to raise up the voices of other poets. That's really important to me, just as a member of the poetry community in general, is to really champion all poets and share their work in the wider world. So, yeah. Yeah.
Last call, any other questions?
When did you live in Colorado?
Oh, I lived in Aurora. I grew up in Aurora outside of Denver. Yeah, but I left in 1990 to come out to read, and I've been out here ever since. So.
I lived in Gosha Springs.
Oh, nice. I was not in a beautiful part of Colorado. Aurora was very suburban, and I mean the mountains were off there in the distance, but I spent a lot of time in the mountains as a kid. So yeah.
How welcome to North
I thank you. It's home now. I've been here way longer than I was in Colorado now, so it's definitely home.
Colorado.
What's that?
You never learned to do it.
No, for sure not. And it made its appearance with, aspen trees and all kinds of things. It crops up in the work still. So, yeah.
Thanks to Joey, in the past, we've had a number of people from Portland come up.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are they're performers as much as they are
Mm-hmm.
poets. And is the poetry scene in Portland, poetry, pretty vital and
For sure.
active?
Yeah, no, it's a great town to be a poet in. And I'm not part of the performance or poetry slam scene at all, but that's definitely vibrant there. But there's also tons of reading series and tons of open mics, and I feel like any reading I show up to, I'm gonna know a few people in the audience, and so I feel like even though it's like a pretty big city with a big poetry community, I feel like it's pretty tight. Like I feel like everybody kind of knows each other and supports each other, and so it's a great town to be a poet in, for sure. Lucky in that way. It's a literary town too, so that's good. Just in general, yeah, yeah. So.
All right, well, thank you, Brittney.
Thanks, y'all.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Brittney. Such a wide palette of poetry, of poems, and I really appreciated getting to hear that spectrum. I do want to give this to you. Thank you for being here tonight.
So pretty. Oh, thanks.
Brittney does have books out here in the other room, either cash or Venmo if you're savvy with your phone. Please buy her books. That's how we support these poets that we love. And then all these books that you see on the table are